What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Bat Flip, talking about Tennessee baseball and the series against number one Arkansas. Didn't get the win, but hey, we're still here, we're still in it, and you got to be feeling good coming out of the weekend against a team that you kind of had on the ropes all weekend. But we'll get into that in a second. I'm Landon Raby, with me Dillon Taylor. Check out our sponsors, Tennessee Tap House, Hound Dogs, and Blue Water Climate Control. Here is a quick word from our good friends at Blue Water Climate Control.
People always ask, where did we get the name Blue Water Climate Control? When a Navy ship casts off lines, exits the harbor, and loses sight of land, that's blue water sailing. It takes a team of people to do that. Tireless work, focus, and attention to detail. So much of starting a business is just like that. After it's done, you get filled with deep satisfaction for accomplishing something, and it's quickly followed by, now the real work begins. We're Blue Water Climate Control.
And we're back, and let's get right into it, talking about the series. Tennessee comes up a little short against Arkansas this weekend, but man, you got to be feeling good. Just a great weekend, not just for Tennessee, but just for college baseball in general. I know it's not been on TV a ton, but I'm sure the ESPN and, SEC Network, ESPNU, they got to come together and just be like, hey, we got to get some more college baseball on. No offense to lacrosse and softball and stuff like that, but I mean, it's growing in popularity every single year, and I think it's finally getting to the point where it's never going to be up there with basketball and football, but I think it's going to be the third kind of place sport there. And it's just electric with the college towns. Baseball is huge, especially in the SEC, and you saw it this weekend when they kind of packed everybody in there, and Lindsey Nelson, who it's a small stadium, but it was loud, it was intense, competitive all weekend. And I know we're going to talk about the Vitello and Van Horn kind of altercation here in a little bit, but I mean, it just kind of it just seemed like the competitiveness just kind of boiled over into that post game, after Sunday's game. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I want to kind of get your take on the weekend, on the diamond, not so much as the off the field stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean you're right. I don't think it'll ever get up to the football, basketball level. I think it could get close. I think it's on its way there. Regardless, though, it's popular enough, you're right, to where it shouldn't just be the SEC network alternate 3 times removed channel from that, streaming only for 2 of the 3 games. I mean, you've got a top 5 matchup in the SEC for the number one seed, possibly heading into the final weekend, the number 1 spot. So yeah, I mean, you got to get that game on TV. I don't know who you got to talk to, we need to use our power here, the limited power that we have. We got to get it on TV. But yeah, I mean, it's a great series. We'll get into it a little bit more, like you said, but I feel even better. I mean, it's a series loss, yeah, but it's to a team that's lost, or a team that's won every SEC series this year. So you were looking to knock them off the throne there, but I mean, I feel even better after watching the team this weekend. You're able to swipe that second game in dramatic fashion, but the final score of the weekend is 16-15 between the 2 teams. I mean, it's literally impossible to get any more even match than that. So I feel even better. We'll get into it a little bit more, but loved this series. I was glad I got to make it up there for one.
Yeah, it was like one team had to lose.
Right.
But both teams played their butts off this weekend. You mentioned the score. I mean, it was tied for 27 innings. You thought Arkansas was maybe going to pull away Saturday, but here comes Tennessee right back, and then they end up winning the thing with, a freaking crazy moonshot by Max Ferguson. And speaking of the title of this, it had a really nice bat flip in there as well. So yeah, just a ton of moments in this weekend, not just on Tennessee side, but you look at Friday, Tennessee's up 5-0. They kind of jumped on Arkansas in all 3 games, But Tennessee's up 5-0, and Christian Franklin makes an incredible play in center field that probably scores 2 more runs. Tennessee's up 7-0 at that point. They probably win that ball game if that play is not made. Their shortstop battle made a couple really nice plays. Evan Russell plows into the wall in foul territory down there near the opposing bullpen, and comes up with a really nice play. And then you have Jordan Beck in the first inning of yesterday's game throws a freaking seed to Pavloni to throw a runner out at home. And then, obviously Max Ferguson. Then you get the extracurricular activities after the game. I mean, it was just an electric atmosphere. You got the checkered Dillon, or
Had everything.
Checker Lindsey Nelson. I want to say Nealon every time, but Checker Lindsey Nelson.
Used to it.
Yeah. And a lot of people were just like, "Oh, that's a gimmick" and stuff like that. And I think it was really cool. And not just that, just opening it up to 100% capacity. I think it showed that I think Vattel mentioned this earlier in the season, that Tennessee is the fan base is a sleeping giant when it comes to Tennessee baseball, and that proved to be true this weekend. They were loud, they showed up, and they're invested for 27 innings, even after the fact. From Peyton Manning's first pitch on Friday to those teams finally cleared the diamond on Sunday. It was loud in that place. So I really hope that Danny White's. We keep hearing things. We saw a Snapchat story of some sort where there could be a possible blueprint of what that expansion might look like to Lindsey Nelson. But, I just really hope Danny White invests in this program, just like I think Tennessee fans are now invested in this program.
Yeah, I mean, with our fans, you get flight tracking, you get groomers from a couple years ago. Why not throw in some pictures in an office somewhere on an easel that show new plans? I mean, it's right on par with everything else. So I was excited to see it. I hope that's true. I hope it's something that actually comes to fruition there. But I want to mention after you mentioned that play by Franklin in center, that was such a huge play in that game. And to kind of give an indication of just how close the series was, it was one of those plays that, I mean, sitting over in right field, when he made that play, it was like, everybody was like, oh, that was a big play, but it was one of those that nobody was really mad. It was like, that's just a great player on a great team making a great play. Like, that's just something, it's the one you can't really get mad at. It's a huge moment, but you're like, man, that's just, it's nice to see that we're in games like that with teams that have players making plays like that, and we do too now. It's just such a great indication of how far we've come, that a play like that matters in a game now. So that when you brought that up, I thought that was a good point, because I just remember everybody, when he made that catch, the whole reaction there was like, yeah, you got to keep battling, but that's a heck of a play right there.
Yeah, and with a top 5 matchup like it was this weekend, I mean, these two teams left it all out on the field, and it didn't disappoint. Now, you see these kind of, when Alabama plays a team in the playoff, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a good game. It turns out to be a blowout in the national championship. Yeah. This wasn't like that. It was tight. It had your cheeks clenched the entire series. Butterflies, you're kind of nervous, biting fingernails and stuff like that. It was just intense, and what a moment for Blade Tidwell to come in a rubber match against the number 1 team in the country and pitch as well as he did. I hate that he ended up getting the loss, because it was tied when he came out of the game, but he did walk a runner, and the next batter that Sean Hunley faced hit a double to score the run. But I mean, what a performance by him! What a performance by Will Heflin. After you lose on Friday night, you don't want to go down 2-0, because down 2-0 in the Sunday game, what does it really mean? I mean, yeah, you're trying to get an SEC win, but at that point, it's hard to win those games when you're down 2-0, because it's really not for a series or anything like that. Right. So for him to come out and shove it the way he did, I think Tennessee has lost 3 of the 3 openers in SEC play. And Will Heflin has came back and made sure Tennessee got that win. And he didn't end up getting the win. I think they were down when he came out of the game, but he gave them a chance there in the end to really come back. And
Yeah, I think Redmond Walsh actually got credited with it, but yeah, it Will Heflin. I mean, I'll get into him later, but yeah, that's such a big spot for him. That a guy that, I mean, honestly, if Jackson Leith is healthy, if he doesn't get hurt early in the year, Heflin's probably not in that spot. He's probably not one of your starters. He may be more of your midweek guy, maybe more out of the bullpen, have a different role like that. But just a huge performance from him, from a guy that you hate to say probably wouldn't be in that spot if it weren't for injury, because the kid works hard. I mean, he's worked hard to stay there to prove that he earned that spot as well. So that was huge from him. I mean, he carried a no-hitter into the 6th inning against the #1 team in the country with an offense that if you leave a pitch in the wrong place, they will make you pay for it. So huge performance from him.
Yeah, Tommy Grimmett says we could have swept it all. I love the series. I mean, yeah, it was that close where, either team could have got the sweep, with a couple mistakes here and there. Balls go your way. I mean, the difference in this series to me was the bullpen, and not that Tennessee's bullpen is bad by any means.
No.
But Arkansas's bullpen is probably one of the best in the country. Ross Kivett was on with us with more important issues, and was talking about Kevin Kopps being the best reliever in the SEC. If you're the best reliever in the SEC, you're probably the best reliever in the country. And, it proved to be so this weekend. I mean, he was a difference maker, and, he's probably going to make a lot of money here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, you hear Rocker and Leiter all year, but I mean, you got Kopps in there at 7-0. He doesn't exactly do the same thing as Rocker and Leiter, but I don't know how he isn't leading for pitcher of the year, honestly, with everything I saw from him. He kind of, I mean, you're going to get that slider from him. His fastball is going to be low 90s right around in there. So it's kind of like Chad Dallas to me. It's not anything that's really going to blow you away. His slider's disgusting. I mean, it's like Greg Maddux in the day. He would tell you he's going to throw it and still get you out. So, I mean, he was as advertised. Everything I had heard and seen from him, he delivered.
Yeah, and he's now 9-0 on the year. So I mean, just an incredible year he's having. But Tennessee was able to get a run from him in the bottom of the 9th yesterday, and make things interesting again. They had the tying run on first base with 2 outs, and their best hitter comes to the plate. So there's that hope from yesterday. You're like, hey, are we going to do this thing again? But came up a little short, but definitely something to build on. I thought getting Pavolony back in the lineup was huge for this team. Came in late on Friday, but then started Saturday and Sunday, and he's just a bat that Tennessee's missed. Not trying to take away anything from Jackson Greer, because I thought he did a phenomenal job while Connor Pavolony was kind of coming back from that hand injury, but Connor Pavolony is a guy that's been in this program, and he's going to be a major leaguer one day. And that bat was missed. He was 4 for 8 with 2 RBIs in the series. So just a guy that in the 9 hole that you just love to have. With Tennessee's lineup right now, we talked about them flexing their muscles against Missouri. I thought they did it this weekend, hitting 8 extra base hits, 4 home runs. 1 through 9, anybody can hit it. And you're talking about Connor Pavolony went 4 for 8 with 2 RBIs. He's not a 9-hole hitter, but that's just where he just lined up, because you have such good hitters in front of him. So just a really good series from him. And then, I mean, Max Ferguson is just a dude, just a stud. This is kind of what we expected from him all season long, not walk-off home runs every single time, but to elevate his game with the competition. He's had a couple good series in a row, so he's really starting to find it at the right time, and that's what you're wanting from your leader there in the infield, and a guy that is probably besides Blades Tidwell, will probably be your highest drafted player on this roster.
That was one of the things that I know y'all talked to Kiv on, what was it, Thursday night, I think? Wednesday night. Yeah. That was one of the things he talked about. I noticed in the interview too, was the main, I don't remember if it was you or Caleb that asked, but the main kind of question that he still had was, not necessarily the guy that's going to drive in the most runs, hit the ball the furthest, but the guy that's going to get the hit in the big spot when you absolutely have to have one. Then whether it's against Arkansas, whether it's in Hoover in the tournament, whether it's in Omaha if you get there. I mean, it's a guy that's got to make that play, has to get that hit. I mean, that's one of the reasons I kind of feel a little bit better. You don't settle for moral victories. I mean, we've had enough of those around here in every sport, but that's why I feel better. Is that was a big question that's potentially answered right there. It is not only do you have Liam Spence in the leadoff spot there that just gets on base like as consistently as the sun raises every morning, but you've got Ferguson right after him that kind of showed this weekend. I mean, the average wasn't great. I mean, he had the big game Saturday before that, he was 1 for 5. He was 0 for 4 on Sunday, did drive in a run though, but you had that big spot. You have to have that hit. After that, you probably, that kind of deflates the stadium. If he pops out or grounds out right there, you probably don't win that game. So that was one of the things I noticed in that interview, that you hope maybe he's the guy, or one of the guys you hope that can step up in a big moment like that. And so maybe Kivick got his wish there. Maybe he, even in a series loss, they have a question that got answered coming out of it.
Yeah, and he also talked about quality at bats and how they measured that as well. And Liam Spence before Max Ferguson, Max Ferguson gets all the credit and the exposure and everything like that, and he should. I'm not taking anything away from that, but Liam Spence, he got to see 8 pitches in the on deck circle because Liam Spence was
Right.
having a quality at bat, and that first pitch he sees it 95, 96 miles an hour and hits in Frank Anderson's word, a 3-run Jimmy.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, so it was really cool to see that. It's a game I'm going to remember forever, and I'm sure those guys will as well. But it was just a series that you just kind of didn't want it to end. That could very well be a College World Series to deciding who the national champion is.
I want to see him play again for sure. Whether it's Hoover, wherever it is. I thought the Arkansas fans. I mean, I hate the Woo Pig Suey. I mean, I'll never like hearing that. But
it's just
the
ugly.
Arkansas. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's not appealing to hearing. I don't know, but it's their thing. I was kind of wondering though. I mean, they got the number 1 team. Like I've said, I think they've got the best team in college baseball. I think they kind of proved that. But I was really happy with their fans too. They've got really passionate fans. At least the ones I was sitting beside, they were in the game the whole time, chatting it up. So I credit to them. I know I'd heard before or read on Twitter that Arkansas fans were kind of some of the better group. And after going to Vandy earlier this year, I mean, I'll never actually like a Vanderbilt fan. So they're kind of coming in with a little bit of a chip there. But yeah, I was impressed with the Arkansas fans. They were really knowledgeable. They were in the game the whole weekend. They really passionate. So shout out to them too. I mean, I know they beat us. It's tough, but I really enjoyed playing them.
Yeah, just a really great series overall. Another guy I want to mention before we kind of move on here is Jordan Beck. I thought he showed off his power. Something we've seen kind of here and there. He had a great start to the season and then kind of valleyed off a little bit, but it seems like he's picking it up at the right time too. Luke Lipsius had a couple really good hits Sunday. I mean, he was freaking smoking the ball. He had that double in the 9th, and I think his previous at bat, he had a shot into right field as well. So
had a great at bat Friday too. Was it Friday or like a 15 pitch at bat?
Yeah.
It was you kept thinking he was going to get a slide or something like that, get set down, but he battled the whole way. He got K'd to end it, but I mean, a great at bat from him then too.
Yeah, just a big shout out to Tennessee fans. I mean, they've really, it's taken a while for Tennessee fans to really kind of buy into this baseball team. But credit to this staff and this roster for putting a product where Tennessee's going to buy into it. And, the fact that they've seen this success firsthand, that they're not going to want it to end. So you got to keep that going. But I think it's going to give you really something to build on, really give you some leverage when you go into negotiations with Danny White and things like that.
Yeah, we talked about the renovations, the proposals, all that too. Obviously, you want to extend Vitello. You want to probably sweeten the pot a little bit, give him more incentive to stay. But I think the proposals, the extending the stands, locker room renovation, just all of that, I think that's the best thing you can do. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's more appealing to Tony Vitello too. Money talks, and I get that, but I think the guy's making, and not saying he won't get an extension, but I think he's more worried about competing with the SEC with facilities and all that stuff, with a
Yeah.
new weight room, expanding, like you said, out in left field with just making your stadium bigger, make it more of a home field advantage. And Tennessee fans are nuts, so if you're able to pack that thing in, with a bigger stadium, I mean, just imagine all the Tennessee fans in like a place like the Smokies. I mean, that place would be booming.
Yeah.
And if it's downtown, I mean, I live probably 10 minutes away from downtown. I'll probably be able to hear that many fans from my house.
Right.
So,
yeah, you've got one of the biggest stadiums in football. You know, you've got some of the craziest fans. So you gotta get baseball to match that. They've never committed big money to it like that. I mean, I guess the last thing was the turf on the field, but that's not really going to do for recruiting, for visits, stuff like that, like new facilities will. So yeah, I agree.
Yep. All right, well, let's talk about the Vitello Van Horn. I don't think there's a ton to it. Maybe there is later down the line. Maybe we find out something else. But it looks like two guys that were just competing. They used to work with each other, so they probably know how to push each other's buttons a little bit. And it happened. It happened after a week of, I'm sure, Kiv talked about they've dropped some midweek games, and that's just because some of those guys are just physically, emotionally exhausted from a full weekend of SEC baseball. So, I mean, maybe it was something like that where they're just exhausted and, one person says something and then it's kind of on at that point. Vitello kind of took the blame a little bit, saying that it was, Van Horn was talking about some on the field stuff, and then he mentioned some off the field stuff, and it kind of rubbed him the wrong way. But they kind of shook hands, and then they went on jawing, and then Arkansas was kind of waving back. Evan Russell didn't like that too much, so he started walking to him, just being Evan Russell. Definitely no shyness away from any kind of fight is Evan Russell. But yeah, I don't think there's much to it. I don't know what you thought about it, but I don't think there's a whole lot to it.
I don't think so. No, I like seeing it personally. I mean, I think you need more of that in baseball. I mean, you kind of, I get so tired of hearing all the old man yelling at the cloud mentality that you read online about it. If you bat flip or you do anything around the bases. I'm a Braves fan, so we got Marcell Ozuna. So he takes his sweet time getting around the bases. He's got his antics. Acuna does too. But that kind of stuff, I mean, more fire, more, I guess, altercations, you want to call it. I mean, I don't think you want to see a benches clearing brawl every game, obviously, but more stuff like that.
This isn't the Ice Bears.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it makes headlines, though. It gets more eyes on, what happened down in Knoxville at college baseball. It would really help if it was on TV for all three games. So that, back to our first original point there. Yeah, I don't think it's anything huge, like you said. I mean, it's his former boss. Like you said, they know. Van Horn knows that Vitello is a fiery guy. Like he knows. I wonder if maybe he said something there a little bit that he knew Vitello wouldn't like. But I don't think it's anything long term, really. You've heard. I mean, I've heard rumors that it's something about Van Horn, like trying to recruit some players here. Vitello may have said something about, hey, I built your team with all the recruits I gave you there when I was there. So there's speculation. I mean, I even saw the theory that Van Horn had took Vitello's girl at some point, which is just insane to me because I mean he's Tony V, like he's the man. So you hear every little
That's a
thing.
little sus for me. I'm not buying into all that.
Yeah, Van Horn's a little bit old for that, I think. But you hear all that, you read all that. Everybody's trying to make it more than it actually is. I'm like you. I don't think it's a big deal. I kind of liked seeing it. I mean, there wasn't a fight from it. You got two teams that, not that they're necessarily saying they don't like each other, but they just battled for a full weekend. I mean, they're going to respect each other at the very least. So, and like Evan Russell was saying as he was walking up to him, like, we'll see you again, hopefully. So that.
Yeah.
I like seeing it. Don't think it was a big deal.
Yeah, I think it adds a little bit more to the atmosphere, and it, like you said, add to that exposure. It makes more people want to come to the ball game when there's entertainment involved. So there's plenty in between the lines, but after that, that it just adds a little fuel to the fire, and the next time that they play each other, it'll be electric.
Yeah, man, I hope we get to see it again. I mean, both teams are going to have to make it there. I mean, you can see an upset. I mean, Ole Miss, I don't want to say they dominated Vanderbilt this week, but Ole Miss, I wouldn't want to play them going into the tournament. I mean, they've been good all year. I think they were at 18 or 14 when they just beat Vanderbilt. So they're a top 25 team. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get to host a regional or not. I think they should. Their fans are pretty insane down there from every clip I ever see. But, I mean, they're one of those teams that, I mean, yeah, you got to make it to the end if you're going to play Arkansas because they're probably going to be there. But, I hope we get to see that matchup again.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of moving along a little bit, who do you got for MVP? Daddy Cap.
So, I mean, probably Ferguson, obviously, but I just off the beaten path a little bit. I was going to go Will Heflin just for what he did Saturday. I mean, it got to where he gave up 3 earned runs after that, after the going into the 6th no hitter. So they caught up to him a little bit, which with the way he pitches, I think is inevitable. I mean, he's kind of been that guy all year that it's like get to 5, get to 6, and get it over the bullpen. Just because he's not going to throw hard, anything like that. But I was really impressed with him. I don't think you win that game without him, even though they do eventually come back, take the lead there. It's one of those spots that he's a guy like Tidwell did Sunday. Tidwell's had more hype around him, really. So I was more impressed to see it out of Heflin against the number 1 team because it was really kind of deflating to lose that Friday game because you wonder if Heflin, I mean, you've seen him do it before. He did it against Vanderbilt when I was there earlier this year. So he can, but against the number 1 team, with the way Arkansas hit the ball Friday, I kind of wondered if he'd be able to, and he far surpassed that. So he gets my vote.
Yeah, I kind of want to go with. I wanted to go with Blade Tidwell, but he ended up losing that game, so I got to go with Max Ferguson. He was 4 for 14, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs in the series. One was the walk-off win on Saturday. Who I'm going to remember that game forever, and I'm sure everybody there will remember it. I'm actually in the picture of him when he hits the ball, and I'm filming.
I saw you made somebody's wallpaper, their home screen, which you'll probably, with those pictures, if they're going, if the athletic department will make that like the new wallpaper Wednesday or whatever they do, you'll probably be in half of Knoxville. If they go on to win the College World Series, you'll be in half of Knoxville's home screen. Then.
I'll be waiting for my endorsement check too.
Yeah. You should get something for it.
Yeah. But I want to go with Blade Tidwell because I mean the kid just he shoved it against the number 1 team in the country. That's not easy for a freshman to come in there in that situation and do what he did. Only giving up 2 hits to one of the best offensive teams in the country. 8 strikeouts, which was a career high, but he said after the game it wasn't his best game. Now, stats wise, I disagree. But he was saying that because they didn't get the win, and I get that. And I wish they could have got him the win somehow, some way, because he deserved it. The kid just pitched his butt off, and our Arkansas. I don't know what our schedule looks like the next 2 years, but they're going to see Blade Tidwell again. And the rest of the SEC is going to see Blade Tidwell for at least 2 more years. So good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we said before. It was kind of one of the points I had going into this last series was he's been excellent all year getting the two strikes, but then we talked about getting the two strikes would kind of, which I understand for a freshman like that coming. I mean, he's throwing 98 now. I don't know what he was throwing his senior year. Probably pretty close to it. In high school, you get two strikes. What's the point of playing around? Like if you can throw it 95 miles an hour, throw it past the kid and get to the next guy. So we kind of saw winning
countdown.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Get out of the game quick with your team leading. You've got a shutout going. So I get it. But we kind of talked about like he'd leave a little bit too many two-strike pitches over the plate. You can't really do that in the SEC. And I think since we mentioned that, since Vanderbilt, since maybe a little before up until Arkansas now, I mean, I don't want to say he's changed anything, but he's definitely improved there. And as you've seen, I mean, he had 8 Ks on Sunday. I think that's his career high or tied his career high. So he's going to be a nightmare for the next couple of years. I'm glad he's on our side. I'm glad he's not wearing Razorback.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wouldn't that be weird, Blade as a Razorback? Huh.
It would kind of fit, but yeah, that's the dad joke of the day.
Dad joke, absolutely. Tennessee is still leading the East. They got a half game lead over Vanderbilt after Vanderbilt lost the series to Ole Miss. You have Mississippi State who lost to Missouri. I mean, who saw that coming?
I didn't. I lost track of that. I knew they won one game. I completely forgot about that.
Yep. So they did that. Tennessee plays South Carolina this weekend. They're coming off a sweep against Kentucky, and they're fighting to host a regional. So Tennessee's going to have to fight off a team that's kind of hungry right now, kind of playing their best baseball. And Tennessee's doing the same thing. So it's going to be another fun weekend. It's on the road. Tennessee has yet to lose a series on the road. So knock on wood that we take care of business this weekend, because you're fighting to host a super regional, not just a regional. I think we kind of locked that down, but you're one of those teams where you could potentially host a super regional if all goes well this weekend, and then you want to stay in that top 4 seed come Hoover, so you get that first round bye and get to stay a little bit longer in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we said before. I mean, you want to see the renovations, everything like that. But if that series this weekend doesn't prove that Knoxville should be, what is it, 16 they pick from? I know they cut it down to 20, but then they pick from that. But yeah, if that doesn't, even if it is one of the smaller stadiums, even if it does need some stuff done to it, what you saw all 3 games this weekend, I mean, if you're the NCAA, I don't know how you can see all 3 of those games, especially Sunday, like you mentioned, that you had Checker, Lindsey Nelson Saturday. I don't know how you can see all that and say, yeah, let's leave them as one of the 4 off. So that's one of the other I guess that's one of the other reasons that I kind of feel a little bit better about it. I feel like you'll see one in Knoxville.
Yeah, so big weekend. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where everything falls into place. Come Selection Monday, we'll see kind of where Tennessee is at the regional, and then we'll see where their seed is in the SEC tournament. Got a lot of postseason baseball here, so stay tuned. We'll be back next week. Do you have anything else before we hang it up here?
I think that's it. Just got to go close it out this weekend.
Yeah, take care of business. Hide your girls because Tony V's coming. I don't care what they say about Dave Van Horn.
And he's pissed too. He's coming out pissed.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're going to be fired. They want Arkansas again. A lot of teams, like when you get beat by somebody, you're like, I'm glad we don't have to play them anymore. No, I think Tennessee's fired up and ready. Like Ross Kivett says, this is a grown man's league, and you respect the teams that you play, but you don't fear anyone.
Absolutely.
That's the gritty team that these Tennessee fans have really clinged to with this team. So I'm super excited to see kind of where everything falls into place. Y'all have a good week. Thank you for listening. See y'all.